like $180 million will even cover the legal fees.
Yeah. And this is all part of an incredible bungling of the energy file, which has turned what has been an historic strength for our province into a major detriment to attracting jobs and impact on bills.
Local utilities taking the heat for it.
Do you think
the province said you need smart meters? Now we have to pay for it. But nowhere was McGinty mentioned in the paper.
Right.
So now we spent $180 million plus probably, I would say, 300 to 400 more that are going to be off the books, and it would be some of that stuff.
Yeah, agreed. Shane.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of agreed that energy policy and the energy system is a bit of a mess.
Yes.
So I'm really interested in your path to prosperity. I think you got some neat ideas in here. But path number 5 affirms nuclear as a key sector, a key future source of Ontario's basic energy supply. And I'm sure you're aware the OEB came out with a report recently that said that 45% of the cost increases we've had recently on our hydro bills is due to nuclear. This is the Ontario Energy Board said this, and 6% was attributed to renewables. And you also know that, of course, we're paying the debt retirement charge on old nuclear debt, because nuclear is always more expensive than the bid. Nuclear cost overruns have been 2 to 2.5 times historically. So when we're looking at new nuclear or refurbishments of nuclear, there's a real concern that we know what we're going to be paying when we step into those contracts. So I wonder, is your party ready to commit to a firm bid with no cost overruns on future nuclear projects?
Let me answer the question. I know there's debate about nuclear power and those who oppose it. I support it. I think that nuclear power gives us affordable base power. It's been a core strength in our province and is 53% of our base supply today. In some senses, we have no alternative. We need to refurbish that. That's a major part of our supply and base load, but I also think it's the right thing to do. Now, you make a point about the leftover debt from Darlington in the 1980s. The argument I'll make on that is that that was a result, significantly so, of political interference. They had politicians who would do fits and stops and starts and goes and no's and green lights.
But
and red
every
lights
project has gone over. Every project in Ontario.
That's a North American phenomenon, though.
It
European
is.
projects don't go over the budget.
Okay.
We delivered my company delivered 2 CANDOs in China, under budget, ahead of schedule. You can't do that in North America.
So could you commit to that?
So number one. So you know what? I'm somebody who actually believes that nuclear power is important for our baseload. I believe in nuclear power, hydroelectricity. They're emissions free. They give you affordable baseload power so families can actually pay their bills and they can encourage job creation. So number one, you don't repeat Darlington by all kinds of fits and stops. Second, in our white paper, Affordable Energy and Change, thank you for taking the time to read it in detail. Appreciate that. We also talk about having private sector investment in our power system. Now, I know some folks see this as controversial. I think it's the right thing to do, and it's necessary to go forward. It actually brings some private sector business sense into the building and the operation of our nuclear sector. I think that will lower our costs and help to mitigate the concerns that you have, Shane. Third, we actually, OPG and Hydro One are some of those agencies I talked about earlier that have the closed tendering process. And the estimate that I get from others is that actually drives up costs up to 40% higher when you have closed tendering. What I would do, open up the tendering, look for the best companies that can provide the refurbishment or new at the best cost impact at the end of the day.
But I'm still
last
asking.
point, Shane, I'll make on this is Don's point too. This has been a unique, this has been an Ontario problem with OPG. Places like China, India, Korea, Europe have brought forward nuclear projects on time and on budget. We had a behemoth in Ontario Hydro that quite frankly couldn't run a 2-car funeral. Right? So you make a change in the way you build these projects, you can't do it on time. I recognize that, and I can see look in your eye, you're not going to agree with me 100% on this, Shane.
I'm waiting for you to answer my question.
But I do believe. So I would, to answer your question, this is how we do things differently. We'll construct the contract to put as much risk on the private sector as possible to mitigate those risks at the end of the day. Building and refurbishing nuclear is going to be absolutely essential to our economic success in this province. And the alternative of gambling more and more on the wind and solar and the kind of subsidies that requires. And the problems with that is you can't build a 21st century economy based